Distinguished speakers, dear participants, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen, namaste from Kathmandu. Of CDD, NICE, NPI, and NEMUN in collaboration with Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA. Today's discussion will be on Nepal-Japan cultural ties, valuable and exciting aspects. The cultural ties started in 1899 when Japanese Jain Buddhist Ikai Kawaguchi came to Nepal, first time in 1899 when his way to Tibet for the collection of Buddhist manuscripts. 8 Nepali students went first time for the study in Japan in 1902. Jai Prithvi Bahadur Singh was the first Nepali scholar to visit Japan. Since 1952, the Himalayas have lured waves of Japanese mountaineering team. Diplomatic relations were established on September 1, 1956, issued by the opening of the Royal Nepalese Embassy in Tokyo in 1956 and the Japanese Embassy in Kathmandu in 1968. The exchange of royal visits and high-level official interactions of both our countries. Their Majesties King Mahendra and Queen Ratna visited Japan in 1960. In the same year, Crown Prince Akihito and Princess Michiko visited this country. Similarly, the exchange of visits made between the prime ministers of both countries was another milestone in the history of friendly relations between our two countries. Food, literature, and language are closely related to culture. There are many Japanese restaurants and a few retail shops in Nepal. I have heard that there are numerous Nepali people involved in business in Japan. Similarly, many poets in Nepal are familiar with Japanese tanka, haiku, and senryu. Hundreds of young Nepali student people, they learn Japanese language as their second language for the purpose of their study in Japan or in their tourism profession in Nepal. So Japanese cooperation to Nepal through development agencies and people level is praiseworthy. We have invited 3 prominent speakers for their talks today. We are glad to have Dr. Nakagawa Mitsuhiro, Professor Emeritus, Ibaraki University, Dr. Balram Shrestha, International Lawyer, Tokyo, and Ambassador Mohan Krishna Shrestha, Founder, President, CDD, and former Nepali, ambassadors of Nepal to France. On behalf of the organizer, I would like to welcome all the guests and speakers and our valuable participants for providing valuable time with us. My name is Mitra Bandhu Paudel. I'm the Vice President of Center for Diplomacy and Development and also the Principal of Little Angels College of Management, Nepal. I'll be moderating this event. First of all, let me inform you the code of conduct of this webinar. All the participants except the speaker will be muted by the host. Each panelist will be given 15 minutes per presentation. Panelists will be informed 2 minutes before the end of the time. Moderator will deal all the questions to be raised from the floor. Participants can write the questions in the chat box. Moderator will forward the questions to the concerned panelists for the reply. Inappropriate and long questions will not be entertained. Questions must be caught and short and to the point. After moderator announces the end of the program, all activities will come to a complete halt. With this note, let me tell you the brief bio of our first speaker, Dr. Nakagawa Mitsuhiro, Professor Emeritus, Ibaraki University. Dr. Nakagawa Mitsuhiro, Professor Emeritus of Ibaraki University, is affiliated to Institute for Global Change Adaptation Science, ICAS. Dr. Nakagawa was a senior researcher, international research coordinator, director of research collaboration at Research Institute of Agricultural Economics, Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries between 19 1982 to 1998. He was then involved as research fellow at Food and Agriculture Policy Research Institute, University of Missouri, between 1989 to 1991. Dr. Nakagawa has been associated with the College of Agriculture, Ibaraki University since 1998. He completed Doctor of Agriculture degree from the University of Tokyo. His current state of research and teaching activities include education and research on Asian food problem and sustainable rural development. His research primarily focuses on two areas. One, agronomy for social development, and two, environmental policy or environmental social system. He has written many research papers and books. He is the recipient of numerous awards. His professional memberships include the Society of Kyosei Studied, the Japan Society of Regional and Agricultural Development, among others. His Nepali-specific research presentation entitled Microfinance and Empowerment of Women in Nepal, a case study, Thankot Mahila Jagaran Saving and Credit Cooperative Kathmandu, was presented in 2016. Let's welcome Dr. Nakagawa Mitsuhiro, Professor Emeritus, for his speech on Nepal-Japan cultural ties. Over to you, Professor.
Yes, hi. 先生じゃあ始めてもいいんじゃないMitraさん、he wants to share the screen. He has a PowerPoint to share with all participants.
Okay.
Thank you for Chairman. It is my honor to be invited to today's seminars. So I prepared the PowerPoint for my presentation. So I want to use PowerPoint slide. これでいいかな? Just a moment. You can see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. はい。ちょっと待ってね。上にいっぱいあって、これができなくなっちゃったね。
ゆっくりでいいです。
ちょっと待ってね。
はい、OK。
これが動かないかな。動いた。
先生、なんかミュートになってるね。
スライドショーにしたいんだけど、それが隠れちゃって見えないんだよね。これどうすればいいのかな。
そうか。どうしよう。
一番上にあるあれ、手のアイコンあるの左であれ、アイコンが押せば多分スライド始めます。
これいや、
左。それじゃない。
左
いいよ。Left function, left side. Left side ま用順 first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth icon. Top left.
画面切り替えよ。
どうなってんだろう。
सबभन्दा माथिपट्टि छ नि सबभन्दा टपमा लेफ्ट साइडमा
हात देखाएको चाहिँ हो यो
हात देखाएको सँगैको लेफ्ट साइडको त्यसको सँगैको हातको सँगैको लेफ्ट साइडको आइकन छ नि
先生一番上の左に 一番上の左に、手が、これを指でこうやってるところの左にもう一個ありますね。そこに押せば大丈夫と言われてるんだけど、左側の、から一番上で、なんか、こうやって、指で指してるところの一緒のアイコン、押せば大丈夫。
いや、指で指してるっていうのはわかんないんだけど、どれだろ
1、2、
一番上、あ
3。
れ、赤いやつの。
赤い、あるだね、赤い、こうやって赤い、一番パソコンの一番上に。
ちょっと待ってね。
はい。
パワーポイントは出るんだけど、
うん。
これね。あ、出た。ちょっと待って。スライドショー。
そうそうそう。
うん。これ見えますかね？
いや、今、スクリーンシェアないんですよ。
今、スクリーンシェアなってないんですね。
なってないのね。
はい。もう一回スクリーンシェアで言ってください。はい、
これだね。で、これだと、あれが見えないんだよね。スライドショーというのができないんだよね。
उहाँको त्यो साइड सो छ नि सुमन जी, यो होइन यसमा हैन गर्ने सुमन भाइ?
देखेँ सर, ठिक छ।
これ見える？
please,
見えます？
見えます？はい、見てます。
じゃあこれでいきますね。
はい。
はい。Today's my subject is characteristic of Japanese culture and its similarity with Nepalese cultures. Japan is surrounded by seas, and Nepal is surrounded by high mountains. Therefore, the cultures of both countries have been developed in closed spaces, isolated from the others. The cultures of both countries have similar characteristics. This presentation will cover the following two common features. First one, culture formation in a closed system, and culture development based on meditation. My presentation time is limited, so today I only mention about two common features. First one, culture formation in a closed system. This photo shows the rural America. We can see its scenery is open space. After that, I mention about globalism. Usually, globalism based upon the opening systems. And compared to the rural America, next photo is rural Japan. We can understand rural Japan is a closed system. I think this scenery is similar to Nepalese rural sceneries, I think. So both countries based on the closed system. This is the original landscape of Japanese. In Japan, we call Satoyama. It's a closed system. I think this scenery is very similar to Nepalese rural sceneries, I think. So closed system. This is the original scenery of Japanese mind. There is a high mountain, and also there is a low mountain, and from mountain, a river flows, and there is a road, and paddy field. And there are some houses, and there are Shinto Shrine. Usually, there are 3 Shinto Shrine. Shinto Shrine located in the mountain, and Shinto Shrine located in village, and Shinto Shrine located in the paddy field. There are 3 kinds of Shinto shrines. And also, there is a Buddhism temple. And there is a borderline and protected. This scenery is original scenery of Japanese mind. We can understand it's a closed system. So for many years, Japanese was born in this village and grown up and get married and have a child and become old and die. So many generations continues in closed systems. This is the rice planting festival. Usually in early summer we have, and this is the summer festival. I want to explain you Japanese life cycle. So first, a new baby was born, and the parents take a baby to the Shinto shrine. So first visit a shrine. And when children become 3 years old, and 5 years old, and 7 years old, visit the shrine for their healthy growth. And children became adult and get married. This picture shows the wedding at the Shinto shrine. And have a family, have children, and raise children, and became old. And finally, died. We have funeral ceremonies. And the Japanese people usually construct the grave. So every year, a family visit a grave and to pray. And this is a typical life cycle of Japanese. And Japan is located at the eastern end of the Eurasian continent. It is surrounded by the sea on all sides. This is the map. You can see Japan located at the eastern end area. Yellow line indicate the iron road. Steel making technology was occurred first in Near East area, and gradually transferred to East area, and finally steel making technology reached to Japan. So Japan is the final terminal, you can see. You can understand all culture developed in a continent were flowing to Japan. So Japan is the final terminal, you can understand. So formation of Japanese culture is in the closed system. And formation process is as follows: isolation, and acceptance, and selection, maintenance, fermentation, and purification. This is a process of formation of Japanese culture. I show you one example. No. This is a sword produced in Persia, so Persian sword, and transferred to China. So this is the Chinese sword. And then transferred to Japan. This is the Japanese sword. You can see the shape is a change. In Japan, making a sword is a sacred work, we think. So I think Japanese sword is very beautiful and also very strong and also soft. Japanese are good at handling iron. So in the current, we produce the automobile like this one. And also Japanese produce the mobile phone like this one. Features of Japanese product are small and compact and powerful and beautiful. You can see. This is the typical Japanese product. Mobile phone, you know. It is very small but compact and powerful and beautiful. This is the characteristic of a Japanese product. I want to explain you the Japanese unique sense of beauty in ceramics. Another example. So this is Chinese ceramics. So first, we Japanese imported Chinese ceramics, and we appreciate it very much because Chinese ceramic is very beautiful, very colorful, you know. This is another Chinese ceramics, very beautiful. So first, we Japanese appreciated those Chinese ceramics very much. Then we imported Korean ceramics. Korean ceramics is a little bit different from Chinese one. And those Korean ceramic is used in daily life. And we Japanese found the beauty in Korean ceramics and developed Japanese ceramics. And this is the Japanese ceramics. So you can understand Japanese ceramic is a little bit different from Korean and from Chinese. We developed Japanese unique sense of beauties in ceramics. We call wabi and sabi. Wabi is a beauty coming from simplicity and imperfection. And sabi is a beauty of serenity that comes with age. You can see for Japanese, this ceramic has such beauties This is the unique Japanese unique sense of beauty in ceramics. We imported Chinese tea and developed and changed tea style. And we developed Japanese teas. And also, Japanese make drinking tea and developed two ceremonies. Those are characteristic of Japanese cultures. I want to explain a second point, culture development based on meditation. This is a kendo, typical traditional Japanese sports. And this is the judo, you know very well, I think. And this is the aikido, also traditional Japanese sports. Those traditional sports, those name contains do, you know. The do is, the meaning is the way of life as a human beings. This is the photo of tea ceremony. And the way of cha sado tea ceremony, we respect the concept. Japanese pronunciation is wakei seijaku. The meaning is harmony, respect, purity, and tranquility. So Japanese culture is very meditative cultures. This is the Shinto Shrine. And inside shrine, there is a room and a symbol of God worshipped. This is a photo. And the symbol of God is a mirror. So in Shintoism, mirror is a symbol of God. A mirror without dust. In Shintoism, major practice is misogi, Japanese pronunciation, purifying ourselves by waters. You know. In Shintoism, we believe if purify ourselves, we became like a mirror without dust, you know. And our consciousness became like a mirror without dust. It is the basic thinking in Shintoism. This is a man, Zen meditation. So Japanese culture developed based on meditation. Japanese culture, the final goal of long practice is the selflessness, no mind. Japanese pronunciation is mushin. What Japanese culture is oriented toward? Harmony with nature, harmony with people, through being selflessness, no mind. This is a brief explanation about characteristic of Japanese cultures. But recently, we face to the recent social issues under globalization, Japanese mental confusion. This figure shows changes in the number of patients with mental illness. You can see the number of patients with mental illness, that number recently dramatically increasing. This figure shows changes in the number of special support class students. The number of students who need special support. That number recently also dramatically increasing. And this figure shows the number of consultation of child abuse. Also, this number dramatically increasing. So those figures indicate the Japanese mental confusion. And I think background of Japanese mental confusion, I think there are rapid decline of traditional values, especially since the 1990s, and unestablished new value. Japanese mental confusion. The traditional Japanese value is a mixture of Shinto, Buddhism, and Confucianism, which developed in a closed system. This traditional value is rapidly declining in the full development of globalization. Situation is like a pulled out route. Traditional Japanese view of the world is based on a closed system. However, a globalism view of the world is based on an opening system. Again, I want to show you rural America. It's an opening system. And globalism based on the opening system. This photo is rural Japan. It's a closed system. And localism based upon a closed system. The number of people with mental illness has been increased rapidly in Japan since the 1990s. This indicates the recent Japanese mental turmoil. The background of this phenomena, I think, the traditional Japanese worldview is swaying in the overall development of globalism. The traditional Japanese worldview has been formed within a closed system. However, the globalism has evolved on the base of open system. Both Japan and Nepal are now facing to challenge how to achieve a balance between globalism and localism. And this is the conclusion. Japan and Nepal share a common cultural characteristics. Closed system and meditation-based cultural characteristics will be important, especially in globalization. Both countries will be very fruitful by learning each other's cultures. Thank you very much for your attention. So I finish my presentation. And now I ask Dr. Shrestha to supplement my presentation, because my knowledge about Nepalese culture is very limited. And so now Dr. Shrestha will explain about Nepalese culture and common future and difference between two cultures. So, please make a presentation, Dr. Shrestha.
And thank you, Professor Emeritus Dr. Nakagawa Sensei. Mitaji, can I start or not?
Yes, I first, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Professor. Before inviting Dr. Balram Shrestha, let me briefly give you the small bio of Dr. Balram Shrestha. He is a registered foreign attorney in Japan. He possesses extensive knowledge in the corporate law as well as in international law. He holds bachelor's and master's from Faculty of Law from Tribhuvan University in Nepal and PhD from the Tokyo University of Agriculture and Technology. He holds professional experience in law for more than 25 years in Nepal and 17 years experience in Japan. He offers consultation and legal services to industry sectors, including domestic and international corporate customers and companies, banks, security companies, foreign investment companies, hospitals, and airliners. Dr. Shrestha is associate lecturer at the Ibaraki University of Japan and researcher of NPO Agri. He is a multilingualist and frequent international traveler. He is associated with many social organizations where he renders services in different high-level capacities. Let's welcome Dr. Balram Shrestha. Over to you, Dr. Shrestha.
Thank you, Mitraji. Once again, we meet in this Zoom meeting. Thank you for inviting me too. And I also respect Dr. Nakagawa Sensei, who completed PhD 5% from Nepal, and more than 36% has a PhD degree from the supervision of Dr. Nakagawa in Japan. And I am also the student of Dr. Nakagawa Sensei. And behalf of the Nepalese, we 5 students are the PhD students under the Nakagawa Sensei, and one my senior is now here, also Dr. Namrata Pandey, and my also one more precious professor, Dr. Yanagima Sensei, is also here. He worked in the FAO for a long time, and I was supervised by the Nakagawa Sensei and the Yanagima Sensei. And from living the Japan more than 17 years, I have little bit common experience in Nepal and Japan. What are the similarities of the culture of Japanese and Nepalese? From the beginning, when I came to Japan, I experienced that uh, Japanese people and the Nepalese people's the spiritual background is the same, because in Japan also they also obey the religion, and Nepal also we rooted from the religion. Our heart is rooted from the religion. Uh, in Japan, when I came, I found the similarities of the polytheistic uh, uh, society of Japan. In Japan, most of the people know the Shinto religion and the Zen religion and uh, the Buddhism. And we Nepalese people also uh, rooted our heart from the Hinduism and Buddhism. That's why the uh, spiritual thought and spiritual culture is come from the religion, and this religion is based on the rebirth concept. We also believe in the rebirth, and Japanese people also believe on rebirth. That's why the theory of this rebirth concept of religion, everyone wants to do good job in their present life from the beginning to the end. And Nepalese people also wants to do good karma, and the Japanese people also wants to do good karma. Even though when I have experience to keep in touch with the Japanese society, the Japanese people are very much wanted to donate and help other peoples, not only Japanese but also the other people who need helps. And this donation concept and volunteer concept is very rooted from the beginning of the childhood, and that makes the Japanese people very harmony. And we Nepalese people also believe on the this volunteer system and also the donating system. And I think this comes from the religion, because we also donate the money to the god whenever we go to the temple, and Japanese people also donate the some coins whenever they go to the temple. In my view, I think that this religion comes this religion permit the thinking to uh, donate and also the doing voluntary job in the society. That's why this is the main similar thing in the religion. And next is the food similarities. In Japan, most of the people like to eat rice, but in the rice is in the bowl, not in the plate. They most of the Japanese eat two times rice, but they have the three time meal and one time tiffin. But in Nepal, Nepalese people eat two times rice and one time tiffin, and most of the Nepalese people included the lentil, it means the dal, and the Japanese people included the miso soup. Miso soup, it means also the kind of dal who is expand the immunity of the health. That's why this food culture is also similarities with the Japanese and the Nepalese people. And one more similarities is drinking tea system. Japanese people take a green tea, but the Nepalese people take a milk tea or black tea, but it is same. But most of the Japanese people don't take sugar during the green tea, taking green tea. But Nepalese society, we take the too many sugars, even though the 4-5 times per day. And the other similarities is measurement is the same. They measure in the centimeters and foots and also the kilos, and also Japanese people have a in their family head of the house. Most of the head of the house is a man, and he take care all the family from the beginning to the end. And in Nepal also there is also the head of the house, father or mother, somewhere mother too, and they all responsible to take care the family until the 20 year. Father and mother is responsible to do every kind of their cultural ceremonies to the children and nurturing the children also. And Japan is also the same system. They are living together. They have the community family in Nepal. And if we go the village side of the Japan, there is also the community commune system. They're living together with the family. But if we go to the urban area in the Kathmandu and also the Tokyo, there is a very nucleus family and not very big family. One or two people is living each other. Now this is a little bit different in Nepal and Japan. And Japan society, they respect the senior people, and it's called the senpai, and also the old age people. They very much respect from the younger people to the senior people. And also in Nepal, we are taught from our school and education that to respect senior, to respect the old age people or senior people. And this is the same feature of the respecting thing to Nepal and Japan. And in the Nepal and Japan, there is a similar goddess in Nepal. Like in Nepal, there is a Lakshmi god, and Japan it's called Kichijo Ten. And in Nepal, one more is Lakshmi is the very, what to say, the it means it is regarded as a money and the property. And Saraswati, it is regarded to the education and books. And in Japan also, Benjaiten, the name of Saraswati is a Benjaiten. That's why the similar goddess is in Nepal and Japan. This is the similarities of the Japanese and Nepalese goddess. And the festival, we also have a festival in Nepal. So many festivals in Kathmandu, Bhaktapur, Lalitpur. If we go there, we can find so many festivals. Too many relatives and the community gather together, and they have dancing, praying, and they have so many things to do. So such kind of festivals is in the all over the Japan. We participated so many festivals, and it seems very likely same in Nepal and Japan. That's why maybe it is come from the Buddhism. The festival is come from the Buddhism. That's why the looks like a similar to Japan and Nepal. And the marriage system of Nepal and Japan is also the arranged marriage is from the beginning. And in the village side of Japan, if we go, they prefer arranged marriage. And Nepal is also like the arranged marriage. And now the days little bit is changing to the love marriage and like this. But the marriage system is also similar. And one more thing is the Japan has a very cold weather and very strong winds. There is a 4 season, and very, as you know, maybe too many typhoons also in Japan. And Japan has a very hard time to innovate their development. That's why they are impressed from the Chinese cultures. China, if we go to China, China is a little bit hot places than Japan. That's why Japan learned from Chinese culture, and they innovate the language first, kanjis, and after they innovate the kanjis, and they they borrow from the Chinese kanjis, and they know how to grow the crops, how to grow the agriculture, and that innovation they want to educate to the common peoples, villagers and citizens. For that, they innovate the kanji, and the kanji is innovated to the hiragana and the katakana, and they teach the common people how to make the crops, how to do the rice, how to make rice in the Japan, even though the weather is very cold, and they innovate so many things because of these challenges. That's why Japanese mind from the beginning, they're only thinking how to innovate new things, because if they don't transfer in from the new things, they don't have the resources, natural resources in their own country. That's why they need to think very deeply in mind and innovate and making new features. And that's why just before Professor Nakagawa explained about the squad. The squad is very fine than other countries, and the ceramics is very fine in other countries. That's why Japanese culture is very innovative and very fine and very beautiful, because for the surviving and the developing, they need to get the new idea. If the same thing is doing with the China and other German, then maybe the Japanese goods are not able to get a brand in the world, and they don't able to manufacture the good one. That's why they incarnate their ideas in their culture. That's why whenever I meet with the Japanese people, everyone have innovative minds. Whenever they do the one thing, they do 100%, not only 100%, 120%. And and of course, they innovate their one idea, and they have the very good culture to resource. They don't believe to saying only. They won't only believe in the data. That's why this is the culture of the Japan, because this culture comes from the idea. That's why I think the Japanese culture is based on the idea and data. But in Nepal, we are not yet going this kind of 100% quality education, and not we based on the 100% data, and not we is based on the new innovation. That's why we need to learn from the Japanese purification and the beautification of the goods, and the making compact goods, making portable goods, and making the multi-purpose goods. This is a little bit differences of the Japanese and Nepalese culture, but at the base of the culture is similar from the Buddhism and the Hinduism and Shinto. And also this is the heart of the Japanese, that they only survive their oneself independently, and they don't want to disturb other people whenever they're living there alone too. And whenever they go to the public place, they don't stop. They are thinking very seriously not to disturb from themselves to other people. And this is this comes culture from transfer culture from culture to education. That's why whenever the foreign people come to Japan, they feel very relaxed, they feel very cool, and they feel very, what to say, the livelihood to live and comes again to Japan. These are the different similarities and little bit differences of the Japanese culture and Nepalese culture. Uh, uh, Here in Japan, now the Nepalese people is living more than 100,000 Nepalese people is working here and living here. And most of the Nepalese are exchanging their culture and their work with the Japanese people. And I heard most of the Japanese are helping to Nepalese people, and Nepalese people are introducing their Nepal, and Japanese people also make to them to participate in the Japanese culture in the August, when the summer is starting, the festival of the Japan is start, and most of the Nepalese people wearing Japanese dresses and go with the Japanese friends in the festivals. Likewise, we also Nepalese people who are living in Kathmandu, maybe I think more than 1,000 Japanese are living in Kathmandu. And whenever we have the Dasai festivals in the October, then most of the Nepalese people who who are a friend of Japanese, they invited to them to come their home for the feast, and they also explain about their culture. And this kind of the exchanges and this kind of the similarities makes Japan people and Nepalese people close and deep relation. And this kind of the deep and close relation makes the good diplomatic relation and the country to country development of the economy too. That's why we need to learn from the very similarities of the Japanese culture for our own life to go very smoothly, and also the Nepalese spiritual relation and Japanese modern Nepalese spiritual culture and Japanese modern culture. If we mix these two kind of culture, maybe the decline of this decreasing of this uh, spiritual living is going very high and warm, and that makes the little bit the medicine to those people who have the disturb of the mind in this competitive life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Balram Shrestha, for your valuable remarks. We are in the joint webinar of CDD, NICE, NPI, and NEMUN in collaboration with JICA. To move forward, we have Ambassador Mohan Krishna Shrestha, who will shed light on Nepal-Japan cultural ties. Mr. Mohan Krishna Shrestha is former Ambassador of Nepal to France and founder President, Center for Diplomacy and Development, Kathmandu, Nepal. Mr. Shrestha began his diplomatic career on 20 March 1983, joining as a section officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He worked in the United Nations Division, Europe, America Division, Northeast Asia Division, and many years in the Protocol Division while in the ministry. He was appointed as the Chief of Protocol in the ministry between 2009 to 2010. Later on, he was appointed as our ambassador to France, resident in Paris, and non-resident ambassador to Greece, Monaco, Portugal, and Spain. He also served as a permanent delegate to UNESCO. Mr. Shrestha has attended many international seminars and workshops, as well as in the SAARC Summit in Thimphu in 2010, non-aligned movement summits in Jakarta, 1992, that's Cartagena, Colombia, 1995, and Durban in South Africa in 1998. Mr. Shrestha is a widely traveled man. He has visited 74 countries in 7 continents in total so far. He speaks 7 languages. They are Newari, Nepali, English, Hindi, Japanese, French, and Spanish. He is the author of the book Kutnitima Teen Dasak in Nepali, and its English version has been published from London. Mr. Shrestha, with a view to share his knowledge and practical diplomatic experience, established Center for Diplomacy and Development along with other friends in February 2018. CDD has carried out many diplomatic activities since its establishment. At present also, CDD is hosting webinars on various disciplines to contribute to the society and to the country at large. CDD offers a platform for diplomats and other academicians, intellectuals to exchange and share ideas on issues of topical importance. Let's welcome Ambassador Mohan Krishna Shrestha for his remarks on Nepal-Japan cultural ties. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Moderator Mitraji. Namaskar and good evening to all. I'm so happy that an important webinar like this is taking place to take stock of the cultural ties between Nepal and Japan. I also thank organizers for giving me this opportunity to present my views on the issue. Dear participants and guests from home and abroad, I visited Japan in 1980 for the first time, and by now, hold 4 decades association with this beautiful country. In 1983, I started my career at the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Government of Nepal. Thereafter, I was sent as a participant in the Young Diplomats program conducted by the Japanese MOPA. It was indeed a very good opportunity for me to be in that program, which helped me to know and understand Japan very well. I have visited 24 of 47 provinces in Japan, from Kuli, Hokkaido to Hati, Okinawa. Later on, I served twice in our embassy in Tokyo in various diplomatic capacities. Now, let me give short account of Japan for the benefit of the viewers. I find most striking feature of Japan is that it is totally homogeneous country, culturally, from food, music, houses, living styles, art and culture, language, literature, way of life and way of thinking, etc. To begin with, chronologically, Japan as a country was founded formally on 11 February 660 BCE. That means Japan has been 2,600 plus years old. Shoman period and Yaoi periods are two most important epochal periods in Japan's history. Experts say 80% of the Japanese people of today are from Yaoi and 20% are from the Jomon ancestry. Cultural activities began to surface from Nara period. Thereafter, during the Heian period, culture flourished in Japan. Imperial system has existed in Japan uninterrupted since the country was founded and first Emperor Shomu. Japan has been ruled by the Tokugawa shogunate from 603 to 1868 AD, but the restoration of Meiji Emperor in 1868 ushered the country into a new era. Since then, homogeneous Japan culture was also invaded by the mix of Eastern and Western cultures. In every country, cultural aspects show how the country has evolved over the time. People's way of thinking, way of life, and their demeanors amply show the psyche of the entire population. Japan has remained as an isolated archipelago for thousands of years. They would not trust foreigners and keep the country insulated from foreign cultures. But these days, country has changed so much that Japan has become a role model for mixed culture. They are the people who invite all good aspects of the foreign cultures, food, music, dance, and enjoy. Then, what are the ingredients of culture? Normally, when we talk about the culture, we take food, dress, music, dance, literature, language, all historical icons as part of the culture. Cultural assets also include both tangible and intangible properties. Japan is famous for preservation of the such cultural properties. Japan is rich in all these cultural assets. Their food is also very delicious and dances are very exciting. Japanese also enjoy bon odori, which is a part of mass dancing during the summer hot seasons. Time doesn't permit me to go in detail. I'm going to explain succinctly some good points about Japanese food as an important part of culture and some social traits which make Japanese distinctly famous for all over the world. Speaking about the food, rice is the main staple food of entire Japanese people, like in Nepal. Japanese people eat a lot of fish, meat and vegetable dishes are also invariably added in the menu. Japanese use mainly soya sauce as the spice. They do not use other spices widely used in Asian countries. Green ginger called wasabi is another spice commonly used. Japanese food are very delicious and enticing. Good cooked food and presented in styles make Japanese food very attractive. They are served in piecemeal manner, not like we do here in Nepal, all food presented at the same time. This is basic difference between our two countries in eating. Japanese rice is short and solid. It looks like Tahitian rice in our country. It has its own taste. In the late 1980s, US government was forcing Japan to import their rice. I remember the then agriculture minister once said, due to distinct taste of Japanese rice, Japanese people cannot eat foreign imported rice. Later on, I also came to know that the real taste of the Japanese rice. During our stay in Paris, we came to know that there were 700 plus Japanese restaurants in Paris city alone. We went to few and ate Japanese food. They were very tasty and excellent in every manner. In every city, you find Japanese food restaurants, and those are getting popular with the passage of time. Japanese food are noted for good health and longevity. Dear participants and guests, now let me explain some of the basic good Japanese traits of Japanese culture. I have collected several things, but due to lack of time, I didn't manage. Instead of managing one by one, I have put in a hotspot manner. But those are very interesting for you. Like number one, I want to start with the time management. Japanese are very perfect in time management. We also call it Nepal Japanese time, Japanese time. So these days, I also say when we start some program, we must stick to Japanese time. On the dot, we must start, and on the dot, we must end. So about the Japanese time, it is very world famous. And during my stay in Japan and work in Japan, what I have felt that when somebody is late in the appointed time, he or she calls and inform that I'll be late by this time and I'll be there by this time, making the recipient free of that time. But we don't have such system in Nepal. We are very late in the appointments. We don't care. So we must change this. Recently, one Japanese minister, it came to in the newspaper. He resigned just because that he was late by 3 minutes in the cabinet meeting. Can anyone imagine a person of ministerial rank resigning just because of 3 minutes late? I think this is unimaginable in other parts of the world. And Japanese people have a very good system of shokai, that means introduction. It's a very important part of the society and the Japanese culture. They introduce their friends, relatives, friends after friends to other people. And that is a very important aspect of Japanese society. Shokai, without shokai, the Japanese society cannot accept the cross cuttings. Then they want to have somebody introduced to them, and his details are given to them. So shokai is a very important part of Japanese culture, Japanese society, and it plays a very meaningful role in making the people more closer, more understood. And also, I really like about the Japanese culture, yakusoku, promise. If you promise something, you must fulfill it. They said, yakusoku is don't forget the yakusoku, don't promise the promise. You fulfill the promise. So this is also is helping the people in bonding the people's mind and thinking. And I have a promise to her, I have a promise to him, I have a promise to my father, I have a promise to my mother, I have a promise to my friend, and I must not forget. So this way, Japanese culture is also based on these yakusoku principles. And also another very important part is, if you happen to see somebody and you know somebody else who that answer, please tell him yoroshiku, means convey my regards, convey my hello. These are very micro level traits which are really making the Japanese people feel very comfortable, very connected, at ease at the mind, in my opinion. So during my entire stay and work in Japan, I really felt that even these things look like very small things, but it has a big impact in the society. And another, how much the Japanese care each other. I'm telling now all these things in micro level. How society can be more strong and more bonding and more connected. Suppose if you are going with a senior, with a friend, with somebody senior, and he or she has some hallucination, the other guy must say, "Oh, hygiene means please take care, please be safe." So this type of thing is very much prevalent in Japanese society. This is it all happens in the society in the daily life also. But these, if somebody fails in this type of activities, he or she might take that this man is very uncouth, it's not very polite. So these are very I good aspects of Japanese society. And in the macro level, I say seniority, one of the very good part of Japanese society, seniority system everywhere, in the family, in the society, in the government, in the corporate sector, in the university, in the everywhere. Seniority is very much respected. Juniors respect the seniors, and the seniors command are respected as much as possible. And they call seniors as senpai and juniors are kohai. This system is very going well, and Japanese system, Japanese people are very much closely knit together by this senpai kohai system. And also collective decision making system there in Japan is mainly useful in the corporate sector. I heard that, I have never worked in Japanese company, but why I heard and in the book I read that whenever there is something new, mainly making level people, they gather in a meeting room, they discuss in length and breadth and come to the concluding remarks, and they decide with the cohesively. So this makes exchange of ideas at all levels, and exchange of cross-cutting levels also. This makes that issue very perfect one. And when they arrive in the decision-making level, their decisions becomes very stable, very strong and bold, and it will be good for that company. So this type of collective decision-making system is mainly prevalent in every part of the Japan and Japanese corporate system. And one time I read a book which was written by American professor. Uh, he wanted to know what is the difference between American management and Japanese management. American management comes from the top level to down level, whereas the Japanese management system is a collective decision-making system, as I told before. So I think wisdom of many people, thoughts of many people, ideas of many people indeed will make everything very good. But it doesn't mean that American system is bad, because to run the company, somebody must be at the helm, and he or she must decide and guide, give the leadership to make company. So it depends on country to country, system to system, how the people, society to society. The Japanese system may be not good in America, or American system not maybe good in Japan, but both countries are flourishing because of their style, because the society accept it. So next thing is that Japanese people have a very good collective civil sense, which I have noted. They they don't wait anything, because Japan of today is not made by 1 year or 2 years. Japan is the only country who suffered atomic bombing in 1945, not only once, twice, and they lost everything, and there was a utter chaos in the country. But so they know the value of food, water, everything. They don't never waste water and food. During our stay in Japan, when my daughter went to Yochen, and they were taught the value of the water, and when she come back to our house, If sometime water is flowing, she used to cry and say, "Oh, don't wet water is very invaluable, very important." So I remember those days. And another civil sense is that we in Nepal don't care if we are driving, if some pedestrians are crossing. First, we try to go. But in Japan, it never happens. First, let the pedestrians go, and then only come. I also practice this, and this is very good. Some unknown pedestrians even thank and smile for this civic sense. Why not we Nepalese also learn from Japan such small things which really make some impact in the society. And another trait is that in Japan, because Japan is not a big country, it has 377,000 square kilometers, where 125 million people live. It's a compact country. So I have noted in a small place, also, they make the houses using every millicentimeter of the land, and they use a maximum use of space available. This is my also good impression that we must use everything in our hand very efficiently. And Japanese are very proud about their nation, of course. They said first, after the defeat in war in 1945, the main Japanese thinking was that let's make our country Japan first. Then we are people, Japanese people living in this country, we are also automatically made good and rich. So that is the main trigger mechanism which Japanese had in mind after the defeat in the war in 1945. And I feel without such a big sense, urgent sense, deep sense, a country cannot prosper. So Japanese work very hard, working 8, 10, 12 hours is nothing for them. Even at the age of 70, they are working, and also in the company, even Shacho means general managers, managing directors, they also work in low-level works also. They don't find any shame doing that because they work together. I have visited in 1980 a city called Ome in northeastern Japan, where I went to see a Japanese door making company, and everybody were working very hard. And later I said that the general manager himself was working like a worker. I said, why you are working like this? He said, no, first work is important for us, not a post. I never forget those words. So about eating also, I have learned from Japan a very good thing that, of course, their food is very good. In Nepal also we have good food, good quality foods. Every country has their own distinct food. But I heard, especially in Okinawa province, people eat only 80% of the capacity. Suppose if you can eat 100 capacity food, they don't eat full, because just eating 80% makes people healthy, and our life also becomes longer. That is also a very good good point to note. In 1985, I was a student, and our late king visited Japan. He came from Australia. They came from Australia, and our foreign minister, Mr. Ranadhir Subba, was 85 years old. And in one of the meeting, and somebody asked him, what is the secret of your long life? And I remember that foreign minister said, you see, even if I am hungry, I don't eat 100%. I just eat 80% capacity, leaving 20% back end. So maybe there is some similarity between Japanese and Nepalese culture. Whether it has gone to Japan from Nepal or it came from Japan to Nepal, I don't know. But this principle seems to be very good for our good health. Another very striking thing which I want to say is that in Japanese society there is called onne to tatemae. Onne means speaking from the heart, and tatemae means just say, hey, yes, okay. You know, during my training in Japan in between 1994 to 85, I was invited by many social organizations. I remember I attended one club where all older women were mostly members. They asked me to present about my country, and for about 1 to 2 hours, I spoke in Japanese, and they asked me questions. I responded. And the last is President Madam Fujiwara, I remember her name. She asked me, do you have any question to ask with us? I said, okay, that's fine. What is the exact meaning of Onne to Tatimaya? Then she said, you see, Japan is a small country, but there are so many people. If we begin to speak what we have in mind, there will be social commotion, chaos, everything fighting, wars. So just to save peace in the society also, normally we Japanese people do not speak what we feel immediately. Even if we have to speak, we speak in a very diluted way, not we don't like confrontations, like conciliation. This, so I like this is very good point to for our society also, but our system is different. When we don't like something, we express immediately, and it creates a lot of problem. And another very good Japanese culture trait of Japanese culture is that people are very faithful to their duties and responsibilities. They fulfill their work very sensibly. They are very polite people, decent people, cooperative. And another very interesting part is that ofuro, hot tube water, I mean the showering, and is a part of Japanese culture. Every home has this ofuro. Last time also I was asked to speak in the Indian program by some organizers. I mentioned to them about Japanese ofuro, and he said why ofuro is so popular. It's a part of culture that it hot water makes our body very agile and very our nerves begin to work very perform very well. I said to them, and I think this is also very good part of it. And sakura, another very interesting uh, flower which blooms in Japan from south to north. And I am amazed to see people note down, people can say sakura will blossom on appointed day on this and place. So, and it happens also. That's a very important part of Japanese culture that sakura is when it blooms, it looks so nice, so nice, so nice, and people enjoy being under the sakura trees. And lastly, I must say that Japanese people like brand goods, quality conscious people. They are quality conscious. They do not buy the quality goods even if the quality is very high. If the price is cheap, they suspect that this is not good quality good. So these are some of the impressions I have from Japan and Japanese culture and their participants and guests. Now, let me highlight some aspects. Of course, moderator Mr. Mitra Ji also has highlighted also about our bilateral relations. I have also prepared something. Yeah, our relations began with a seminal visit of monk Ikai Kawaguchi in 1899, and he was on his way to Tibet, and he was a very conscious monk. He wrote a very lengthy letter, I think 57 pages later to then Prime Minister Chandra Samsher Jangawa Rana, urging him to give enough educational opportunity to the people. Later on, as mentioned, in 1902, eight Nepali students were sent to Japan with a scholarship of the government, and they returned in 1905. They learned a lot about many things in Japan, especially they were taught in ammunitions and chemistry. They studied, and they brought back seeds of chestnut, wisteria, persimmon, and chrysanthemum, which are still available and flowing in our country as a symbol of our two countries' friendship between the countries and people. So we established diplomatic relations on 1st September 1956, and we celebrated 60 years of relations a few years ago, both in Japan and Nepal. And Japan is helping Nepal since 1969. Japanese economic cooperation has come since 1969. It has already been, 52 years, and around 500 billion rupees have been given by Japan in the form of loan, grant, and technical cooperation. Our both countries hold similarities and dissimilarities in simpler aspects, as Professor Nakagawa has also aptly mentioned that where we differ. Japan is a sea archipelago surrounded by only seas, water, whereas in Nepal, we have so many high mountains. Out of 14 Himalayas, which cross 8,000 meters, 8 are in Nepal. And there are so many Himalayas, about 6,000, 7,000 meters. Nepal is 83% of our land is covered by Himalayas and other mountains. Similarly, our cultural aspects also, there are similarities and dissimilarities also. There are a lot of people in Japan who follow Buddhism and Buddhist teachings for peaceful life. Everybody know Lord Buddha was born in Nepal, Lumbini, in 623 BC, and we are very happy that it's a gift from Nepal to Japan that Buddhism has reached to Japan, and these days most of the people follow Buddhism because it is based on the real life teachings. It is based for the peaceful life. It is based for the trouble-free life. If we can imbibe the teachings of Lord Buddha and follow in everyday life, it will be very good for everybody to achieve a peaceful and stable life. So Buddhism is very important for our both countries, both people. One striking difference is that our society, Nepalese societies, Nepali culture is based on a big family system where 3 generations coexist. Arranged marriages are also very common in Nepal, like in Japan also. And between we eat rice, but with dals and spicy meats and tarkaris and pickles. But Japanese system is some different, as I've been already informed. They eat everything in piecemeal manner sometime. But there are also lunch boxes where everything is put there. That is also a big similarity in between Nepali and Japanese food. Our eating habits are also a little different. In the formal parties in Japan, we see one by one food is coming. But in our country, normally we put the food together and eat together like this. What we have to do in future, I think we must learn from Japan, first the time factor, how to maintain the time. That is very important. And also we must learn from Japan how to protect and preserve our tangible and intangible cultural assets. And we must know from Japan how to preserve it, how to make them intact. Because now such things are going on in Nepal also after the earthquake. So we can have a lot of knowledge from the Japanese people in this regard. And last point is that Japanese talk about their sufferings, old peoples who know about it, but we talk about how our country is poor despite so many resources, because we can say it is because of situation resulting by mismanagement. It's not a country like Nepal is poor because despite all these resources, because we have not been able to develop our potentials, resources. So this is the one I really feel during my farewell party on 28th of October 2003 when I left Japan. I hosted a farewell party also. At that time also I said, countries are rich or poor not because of their economic resources, but because of the management. So Japanese are very good in management. Despite all the lacunae in resources, they have made the country so developed and rich because they know the management. Okay, I think I have covered several aspects of Japan and Nepal in micro and macro aspect. I think I don't want to go in detail more. I want to step here because time is already gone. So I say thank you to the organizers. And if there are any questions with regard to me, I'll be very happy to respond to them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your remarkable presentation. It's really, enriching. We really, I think all the participants also got to know a lot of things in the cultural aspects of Nepal and Japan. So it's now for the discussion. I have few questions here. The first question I would like to ask to Professor is, what are the significant factors one should take into consideration to enhance Nepal-Japan cultural relations? Over to you, Professor.
はい。先生、アンミュートした方がいいですね。アンミュート。ドクター中川、プロフェッサー中川さん、はい。どうしようか。私はやった方がいい。
そうだよね。ちょっと言ってくれる？
On behalf of the Professor Nakagawa-san, may I reply, may I explain the questions of this, Mitraji?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. For the enhancement of Nepal-Japan cultural relation, we need to first we need to research how Japan develop their society through the education and history, and also the how Japan struggle from the big revolution of Japan and the Second World War, when they loses the war, and how they once again they stand and start to develop, and how they work hard on the crisis time for their society, for their country. We Nepalese people also need to resource this one, and need to have educate, because in Nepal we don't have the very hard times. There is no very big war in Nepal, and Nepal is not participated in this big war, and we don't have the very big revolution where so many people die, where so many people were die. That's why still Nepal is not in the big trouble, because it's a very independent country, and there is no very the pressures from the overseas, and very big pressure from the neighbor country also. That's why there is the perspective of the Nepal and the Japan's history is a little bit different, but the think of development, and think of creativity, and think of ideas to develop, and think of the innovation of goods, and think of the economic revolution, and equal distribution of the resources to the people. These kinds of the perspective and features is a little bit different than in Nepal and Japan. That's why when the Nepalese when it comes to the Nepalese people need to study the struggle of Japan in this world, and also Japanese people needs to learn from the spiritual continuation of the Nepalese people's heart. And if two of these countries people exchange their views in these two subjects, one is the spiritual heart of the Nepalese society, and other is the innovation ideas and creative ideas of the Japanese culture, then these two makes the these two empower two of these countries people, and then this makes very deepen and trustworthy, and this also the milestone for the two of this country of the culture.
Thank you, Dr. Shrestha. Now let me ask one question to Mohan sir. As a career diplomat for over 30 years and having extensive knowledge and experience in Nepal-Japan relations, how would you see the role of diplomat to strengthen the cultural ties between two countries?
Yeah, this is a very good question indeed, and I like it because as a diplomat, when I have worked in 4 places: Bangkok, Japan twice, and Abu Dhabi, UAE, and France. You know, culture is a very good part of diplomacy, or I think diplomacy also comes from culture, I think. When a diplomat doesn't know the culture of a country, our country and a foreign country, he or she cannot be a good diplomat. So culture is very important. And how we, like when I was a junior in the diplomatic service, in the embassies also, we used to promote cultural events like Nepal promotion events, and we used to host and invite ambassadors, top people of the host government, Nepal-related people, foreigners, like that. It is happening everywhere, and personally also during Bangkok days, during Abu Dhabi days, during Tokyo days, and in France a lot. I took the initiative of doing this type of cultural activities. And when you invite people with the cultural events, the local people really enjoy, you know. Even a country like Abu Dhabi, in a city like Abu Dhabi, when we hosted a food festival in the Hilton Hotel, a lot of people came. Those people, those Arabs also, UAE citizens also, the foreigners also wanted to know about Nepal. And those people, foreigners who has been to Nepal, it was a wonderful party. We was a 2-day event. It was March 8th and 9th in 2008, I think. And last day was, all the people were dancing, you know, rejoicing our food. So this all, now also you can see the paper, our embassies, not all the embassies, but some of the embassies are working on this to promote Nepal with cultural events. So culture and diplomacy go hand in hand. And I'm very proud to say during my active diplomatic life, I have, especially in France, we did a lot of activities. We cooperated, we got the cooperation from the local war officers, mayors in the cities, which also saved our time and money also. And we had a chance to invite a lot of VIP people from their territory and in the areas, and they enjoyed. Especially, I want to recall here in the, we call arrondissement. Arrondissement means ward. Our embassy is located in Ward 17, and despite our embassy there since last how many 30 years, nothing as activity was done. So I thought, let us celebrate the 62nd diplomatic relation between Nepal and France. So I went to see my mayor, Brigitte Kuster, with a small gift, and she was so happy to receive a wood carving frame. She said she will put the photo of her family here. And they extended a lot of cooperation, gave hall free, and provided this wine and other drinks, provided the people. They were so happy that they felt the honor, you know, that the Embassy of Nepal is hosting a program in their area. So this type of thing happens when our embassies try to promote our cultural events, Nepal promotion events. And this is also a good opportunity to let the people know what is our country. Not all the people know about our country. Few people in every country know that we are a Himalayan country, we have a lot of Himalayas. But Himalaya, of course, Himalaya is top on everything, but it's not only thing. We have so many things in adventure, culture, religion, and now even medical tourism is coming in Nepal, you know. The people are knowing that French doctors come to Nepal to buy this, medical equipment from, not equipment, medical accessories from Nepal made by Tilganga. And they send it to African countries because it's very cheap. The same thing which costs 200 rupees here, it costs around 28 euro in France, somebody told me. So this type of thing is happening in Nepal, and we must open more and more, and we must know the people, what is our country, where is our country, what is the strength of our country. These are all possible through such activities, cultural activities. In Abu Dhabi, in Tokyo many times, in France many times, in Bangkok also, we did a lot of such activities, and it was really good. You know, in Bangkok also, when we hosted a program on 1994, and there was a musical performance going on, then all of a sudden, Philippine ambassador to Thailand, Madam Rosalinda Tirona, she went in a dais and she danced, you know. She was excited to see Nepalese cultural performance. Then everybody, we also went to dance, whatever, how we know we dance. But the whole environment was so exciting that people all said, Nepal, Nepal, nice country, nice people. So these cultural performances have a lot of impact on the society of that country. And among the people who have been to Nepal, they really want to join such programs. This is my feeling, especially in Japan and France, because in these countries, I was instrumental to host many such Nepal promotion events, especially in France and Japan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your experience. One question to Dr. Balram Shrestha. As an international lawyer, how would you see the prospects of cultural ties between Japan and Nepal? And what are the missing areas?
Thank you, Mitraji, for this question. The perspective of the cultural ties between Japan and Nepal. Till now, Nepal and Japan don't have the very big business deals and economic deals. That's why I think we are missing some gaps in Nepal and Japan. Only we Nepalese people having the donation and the loans from the Nepal and the assistance from the Nepal. But we need to be a partnership with the Japan to innovate our new products from Nepal and to create new goods and manufacture new product from the Nepal. For that, we need to get the so many cooperation from Japan. But till now, we are not yet the partner of the business of Japan, because Japan is a very big economic country. It is the G7, belong to the G7 member and the superpower of economy. And in the this Asia, we are a very good friend of Japan, and Japan loves to Nepali people, and also Nepal also loves to Japanese people. But from this friendship, we need to convert it into the economic partner country. That makes our this natural resources, full of natural resources we have in Nepal, but we don't have able to make this innovate and sell to the world and make a country's income. That's why, because of the not still deepen the culture, we are not become a partner of economy with Japan. That's why we need to deepen our multiple perspective agenda with the Japan. Not only the aid, but also the economic and the manufacture and the so many assistance. And for that, for that, we Nepalese people need to change some our behavior in our business dealing and the working style, such as one is the starting the work in time, and clean up the work in time, and we need to do the work in detail, and we need to do the work in beautifully and very finest, not only the work for work. That's why the Japanese culture, working culture, is very finest and very decided time deadline. They fulfill their all the promises in time and start all things in time. These are the Japanese working culture and the economic culture. That's why we need to learn the Japanese economic culture and the development culture. Whenever we meet and able to exchange this kind of culture, maybe our missing this perspective of cultures can convert it in the economic partner, and that makes innovative Nepalese people, innovative Nepalese institution, and we become also the good economic country in near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shrestha. I have one question to Professor.
Nakagawa.
Yes, Nakagawa. Yes, Professor. Professor highlighted in his presentation about the culture formation in a closed system, like in Japanese closed system. How can we balance the challenges of globalization and localization, or let's say open and closed system? Do you find any relations of this system in business?
Since
Yeah, I understand, I think globalism is naturally expanding, I think. So I think we should more consider about the localism, I think. So in business world, we more consider about the nation's localities. So globalism is naturally expanding. So we should consider globalism. We should consider more about localism, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Hey, thank you, Professor. Thank you. There is one question from Dr. Kasiraj Pandey. I think this question is very relevant to ask. Either Professor Nakagawa or Dr. Shrestha can answer this question, is your choice. Do you see the possibility of getting Japanese students in Nepalese universities to pursue their studies in specific subjects in short and long term?
Yeah, what to say? Yeah, may I this one?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Kasiraj Pandeyji. From maybe 1998, one university of Japan tried to send every year 2 Japanese students to the Tirubun University for 1 year, and Japanese are very interested to study Nepalese culture and Nepalese history also. And there is in Tirubun University there is a special course for the foreign people to graduate from Tirubun University. But still now our universities is not coming, or is not, what to say, have a plan to invite Japanese students to come to Japan and to come to Nepal. That's why most of the students from Nepal coming to Japan, they study the Japanese language first, and they go to the university and the vocational schools. But Japanese students are not yet known about the Nepalese university. What kind of the subject they want to, they able to study there, they able to research there, and also the system of the visa of Nepalese is very hard. There is no Nepalese government, they don't have the good rules to make Japanese student to work part-time in Nepal. Only they allowed to study there. There is not the rules to work part-time. And if the Nepalese universities approval the Japanese students simultaneously working part-time and studying in Nepal. It may be a good point to Japanese students to go to the Nepal and study more. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. I think Asta Tuladar has, she has added to of Dr. Kasiraj Pandey's question that, you know, at my university, exchange program with Lumbini Buddhist University internship for Japanese students. I think this will revive the culture of meditation, especially students interested. I think she raised a very, you know, pertinent point here. So,
Mitraji,
yes.
we have maybe now the only 8 minutes remain
Okay,
for
sure, sure.
this reservation.
So just one last question I would like to answer, ask about the flower. Ambassador Shrestha briefly talk about the Sakura, and Sakura is very much symbolic, you know, thing for especially in literature, even in Nepali literature. So what is the significance of this flower? What is its cultural importance? I mean, Ambassador Shrestha, Dr. Shrestha, Professor Nakagawa, anyone?
Yeah.
Sakura.
I want to explain, you know.
Yeah.
Usually Japanese people like Sakura because Sakura blossoms and soon なんていうんだろう。散るってどういうんだっけシュレスタさん。
Soon it start the cold.
ちょっとじゃあ日本語でいいよね。
じゃあ全然日本語で言ってください。
はいはい。桜っていうのはね、春にこう綺麗に咲くんだけど、すぐに散るんだよね。それでそのすぐに散るっていうのが日本人のメンタリティが非常に合ってるのね。ちょっと私のプレゼンテーションでセルフレスネスっていう話をしましたけれども、なんというのかな、アタッチメントがないんだよね。そこが多分日本人に非常にこう桜というのは合うんだと思いますね。ちょっと説明できます？咲くんだけどこうすぐに散るっていうね。without attachment。
咲いてすぐにすぐなくなる。
それがなんか潔いっていう感じなんだね。
春菜さんそれできる英語で。さっきこうやったから。OK。
मैले अलिकति भनिदियो।
ल दाइले भनिदिनु न।
Please.
अहिले अब साकुरा अब सेन्सेले पनि अहिले भन्नुभयो नागावा सेन्सेले भने के भने अब साकुरा त जापानको नेसनल फ्लावर पनि त हो नि हैन प्रेसिडेन्टमा हैन अब एउटा नेसनल फ्लावरको चाहिँ नि डिग्निटी पाएको छ अर्को कुरा त्यो तल अघि मैले भने जस्तो तल ओकिनावादेखि फुल्दै आउँछ र यो क्युशुमा होकाइडोमा कहिले फुल्छ भने ठ्याकठ्याकै डेट भन्न सक्छ उसको चाहिँ नि लाइफ स्पान चाहिँ एकदम छोटो छ सेन्सेले भनेको पनि त्यही हो साकुरा फुल्छ राम्रोसँग फुल्छ केही दिन बस्छ अनि मर्छ हाम्रो यसमा चाहिँ नि हाम्रो इम्प्याक्टमा चाहिँ नि अलिकति मान्छेलाई चाहिँ नि जोडेर हेर्नु हो भने हाम्रो लाइफ पनि यस्तै हो बच्चा भयो अलिक ठुलो भयो जवान भयो काम गर्छ पछि एक दिन त पढ्नै पर्छ भन्ने खालको हाम्रो जीवन पनि इफेमेरल छ भन्ने खालको मलाई लाग्छ नागावा चाहिँ यो भन्न खोजेको हो कि साकुराको लाइफ जस्तै हाम्रो पनि लाइफ छोटो छ भन्न खोजेको जस्तो छ किनभने अब सबै ब्युटिफुल चिज लङ लास्ट त हुँदैन ठीक छ
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think we are running out of the time. Let me stop here for the question answer session or discussion. Due to urgent and unavoidable circumstances, Mr. Janak Raj Sharma could not attend this program. He's supposed to extend the vote of thanks. So let me propose a vote of thanks before closing this webinar. First of all, I would like to thank Center for Diplomacy and Development, JICA, NICE, NPI, and NEMUN for organizing this productive event. We look forward to having your cooperation in coming days as well. I would like to extend sincere gratitude to Dr. Nakagawa, Mitsuhiro, Professor Emeritus, Ibaraki University, Japan, for your valuable time and expertise. Similarly, let me thank Dr. Balram Shrestha, international lawyer, Tokyo, for highlighting the issue of mutual cooperation between Nepal and Japan. Thank you, Dr. Shrestha, for your remarks. We are glad that you are becoming our regular speakers in our webinar. Similarly, I would like to propose vote of thanks to Ambassador Mohan Krishna Shrestha, the founder, president, CDD, and former ambassador of Nepal to France, for your remarkable speech, sir. It was really enriching, and you really make us understand a lot of things in Nepal-Japan cultural aspects. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the participants and guests who provided the valuable time for this webinar. So this concludes the webinar. Thank you all for attending. We hope you have learned and enjoyed this presentation. Thank you very much.